The Pacific swallowed sun. The cargo hold smelled of rust and vomit. 43 women sat on the metal floor, legs folded, backs straight, eyes forward. They had been soldiers, nurses, telegraph operators, supply clerks. Now they were prisoners of war, sailing east toward America. Keiko Yamada sat near the front, 38 years old, former schoolteacher in Yokohama. She'd volunteered as a field nurse in Manila when the call came in 1943. Her husband died at Midway. Her son was 14 when she left. She didn't know if he was still alive. The ship rocked. A young woman nearby gagged, pressed her hand to her mouth. "Don't," Keiko said quietly. "They will think we are weak." The young woman swallowed, nodded. American soldiers stood at both ends of the hold. Young faces, hard eyes, rifles in hand. One of them was chewing something. His jaw worked mechanically. He stared at the women like they were cargo. Keiko had prepared for death. In the final days in Manila, before the surrender, she and the others had discussed it. Seppuku was out of the question. They had no blades. Drowning, perhaps, or simply refusing food until their bodies gave out. But death had not come. Instead, there was only this: the ship, the rust, the stairs. The American command had separated them from the men. The women were loaded onto a different vessel, no explanation given. Fear lived in that silence. "What will they do to us?" whispered a woman named Hana. 23. Former telegraph operator. Her hands never stopped shaking. "Nothing we haven't survived before," Keiko said. She didn't believe it. None of them did. The code of Bushido was clear. Surrender was disgrace. They had broken the most sacred rule. They were no longer soldiers, no longer Japanese, by some measures. But Keiko had seen too many young women die for abstract honor. When the order came to surrender, she had made a choice. Survival was not cowardice. It was defiance of a different kind. Still, she knew what awaited them. The stories from Bataan, the march, the camps, the cruelty. Americans had lost brothers, sons, husbands in the Pacific. What mercy could prisoners expect? The soldier with the chewing gum walked closer. His boots rang on the metal grating. He stopped in front of Keiko. She looked up, met his eyes, did not blink. He said something in English. She didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. Contempt. He spat his gum onto the floor near her feet. Then he walked away. Keiko did not move, did not look at the gum. "We will not cry," she said softly to the others. "We will not beg. We will remember who we were." The ship sailed on. 3 days later, they saw land. California coast. Gray sky, cold wind. The women were led off the ship in a single line, hands bound with rope. Sailors lined the dock. Some of them whistled. Some shouted things in English. Keiko kept her eyes forward. They were loaded onto trucks, canvas-covered beds, wooden benches. The trucks drove for hours. Inland, desert landscape, brown hills, nothing green. Hana leaned close to Keiko. "Where are they taking us?" "Away from the cities," Keiko said. "So no one sees us." She understood the logic. American civilians would not tolerate Japanese prisoners walking their streets. Not after Pearl Harbor, not after the battles. The rage was still fresh. The truck stopped at a gate, barbed wire fence, guard towers, wooden barracks inside. The camp. The women were unloaded, counted, assigned numbers. Keiko became prisoner 1,127. An American officer stood on a raised platform. He read from a paper in English. A translator, a Japanese-American man in uniform, stood beside him. "You are prisoners of war under the Geneva Convention," the translator said. "You will be treated according to international law. You will work. You will obey orders. Disobedience will be punished." The officer folded the paper, looked at them without expression. "Welcome to Colorado," the translator added. The women were led to their barracks, long wooden buildings, rows of cots, thin blankets, no pillows. Keiko chose a cot near the window. She sat on the edge, felt the rough fabric. It was better than the ship, but worse than she'd hoped. That night, lying in the dark, she heard crying. Soft sobs from different corners of the room. She did not tell them to stop. Even stone could weep. Morning came with a whistle, sharp and metallic. The women woke, dressed in the gray uniforms they'd been given, stood by their cots. An American guard entered. A woman this time, mid-40s. Blonde hair pulled back, hard face. "Line up outside," the translator said. "Breakfast." The women filed out into the cold morning air, their breath misted. The camp was larger than Keiko had realized. Dozens of barracks, a large open yard, a building marked mess hall in English. Male prisoners worked in the distance, Japanese men in the same gray uniforms. They didn't look up as the women passed. Inside the mess hall, long tables, metal trays, the smell of unfamiliar food. The women sat. A soldier brought a tray to Keiko's table. Bread. A gray paste. Liquid that might have been soup. No rice. No miso. Nothing she recognized. The women looked at the food. No one touched it. The female guard walked between the tables. Stopped at Keiko's. "You eat," the translator said, "or you go hungry." Keiko picked up the metal spoon, tasted the gray paste. Potatoes. Salt. Nothing else. She ate. The others followed. The bread was hard. The soup was thin. But it was food. Keiko had eaten worse in Manila. That afternoon, they were assigned work. Some to the laundry. Some to the garden. Keiko and 6 others were sent to the medical barracks. An American doctor met them there. Older man, white hair, tired eyes. "I need assistance," he said through the translator. "You will clean, prepare supplies, help with patients." Keiko stepped forward. "I was a nurse." The translator passed this on. The doctor studied her. "Prove it." He led her to a table, showed her bandages, scissors, antiseptic. "Dress this," he said, showing her a wound on a dummy arm. Keiko worked quickly. Clean cut, tight wrap, proper tension. The doctor nodded. "You'll do." Over the next weeks, a routine emerged. Wake, eat, work, eat, sleep. The guards watched them constantly. But there was no beating, no torture. This confused the women. "Why don't they hurt us?" Hannah asked one evening. "I don't know," Keiko said. She had theories. Perhaps the Americans feared international judgment. Perhaps they wanted intelligence. Perhaps they were simply too busy to care. Or perhaps, and this seemed most unlikely, they actually followed their rules. The guards were mostly young. Late teens, early 20s. Boys who had enlisted too late for combat. They walked the camp with rifles and boredom. One of them, a red-haired boy with freckles, often stood outside the medical barracks. He watched Keiko work through the window. She pretended not to notice. One day, he entered, showed the doctor a cut on his hand. The doctor was elsewhere. Only Keiko was there. The boy hesitated, then sat. Keiko cleaned the wound, applied antiseptic, wrapped it carefully. The boy said something in English. She didn't understand, but his tone was not cruel. He left. The next day, he brought her an apple, set it on the medical table, walked away without a word. Keiko stared at the apple for a long time. Then she ate it. 3 months into their imprisonment, an announcement came. "Tomorrow night," the translator said, "you will eat in the main dining hall, with the guards." Silence in the barracks. "Why?" someone asked. "Orders," the translator said. "The camp commander wants integration." Fear rippled through the women. Integration meant proximity. Proximity meant vulnerability. That night, Keiko couldn't sleep. She thought about the apple, about the red-haired boy, about the doctor who let her work. But she also thought about the sailor who spat on the ship, about the whistles on the dock. Which America would meet them tomorrow? Morning dragged. Work felt impossible. Evening came too quickly. The women were led to the main hall. It was larger than their usual space. Long tables arranged in rows. American soldiers already seated. eating. The room fell silent when the women entered. 43 women, 200 men, all eyes turning. Keiko felt her chest tighten. They were shown to a corner table. Separate, but visible. Trays were brought. The same gray food, bread, potatoes, mystery meat, but also forks, knives, spoons. The women stared at the utensils. Keiko reached into her uniform pocket, pulled out 2 slender pieces of bamboo. Chopsticks. She had carved them from a broken crate weeks ago, hidden them, kept them for a moment like this. Around the table, other women did the same. Some had chopsticks, some had thin sticks. One woman had shaped metal wire. They held them carefully, reverently. The room was completely silent now. 200 American soldiers watching 43 Japanese women prepare to eat with chopsticks. Keiko could feel the anger building, the insult, the audacity of prisoners refusing American utensils. She picked up a piece of potato with her chopsticks, brought it to her mouth, chewed slowly, did not look at the guards. Beside her, the other women did the same. The silence stretched. Painful, electric. Then, a chair scraping. An officer stood. Older man, gray uniform, captain's insignia. He walked toward their table. Keiko set down her chopsticks, prepared for punishment. The captain stopped, looked at the women, looked at the chopsticks. He turned to the room. "Let them eat," he said. His voice was quiet but carried. "They're prisoners," someone called out. They should eat," the captain repeated. "With whatever they want." He looked at Keiko. His expression was unreadable. Then he returned to his table. The room stayed silent. But slowly, gradually, the American soldiers returned to their own meals. The women finished eating, every bite measured, every movement controlled. When they left the hall, Keiko's hands were shaking, not from fear, from something else. The next morning, the camp was different. Soldiers stared at the women more openly now. But the stares had changed. Curiosity, instead of contempt. In the medical barracks, the red-haired boy came in. No injury this time. He set something on the table. A small book. Keiko looked at it. The cover showed Japanese characters. A language guide. The boy pointed at himself. "James," he said, then pointed at her, questioning. "Keiko," she said. He smiled. Left. The doctor noticed. Said nothing. That afternoon, a different soldier approached the fence near the women's barracks. He was older, 30, maybe. Dark hair, serious face. He held up a pair of chopsticks, clumsily, tried to pick up a stone, dropped it. Some of the women laughed quietly. The soldier looked embarrassed. But he tried again, dropped it again. Hana approached the fence, showed him with her hands. Fingers here, angle there. He tried again, picked up the stone, grinned like a child. Word spread through the camp. The Japanese women with their chopsticks. Some soldiers thought it was funny. Some thought it was defiant. Some simply didn't care. But the camp commander, the captain who had defended them, sent a memo. Keiko heard about it from the translator. He told the staff. The translator said, "That respect costs nothing." The female guard, the blonde woman, brought Keiko a question one day. "Why chopsticks?" she asked through the translator. "Why not just use forks?" Keiko thought carefully. "They are ours," she finally said. "When everything else is taken, we can still hold what is ours." The translator passed this on. The guard looked at Keiko for a long moment, then nodded. But not everyone agreed. A sergeant named Harold Brennan made his opinion clear. He was in his 40s, fought in the Philippines. Lost men there. They're enemy soldiers, he said loudly in the mess hall one night. "We're treating them like guests." Some soldiers agreed. Others stayed silent. The captain heard about it, called Brennan to his office. No one knew what was said. But afterward, Brennan stopped complaining. He still glared at the women. But he said nothing. The camp settled into an uneasy equilibrium. Work, meals, sleep, and at dinner, chopsticks and forks on the same tables. Keiko had learned to read the camp's moods. She knew which guards were safe, which were dangerous, which were simply indifferent. She became the unofficial leader of the women, not through declaration, through necessity. When disputes arose, they came to her. When fear took hold, she calmed it. When hope flickered, she protected it. She was not the youngest, not the strongest, but she had survived the longest. Her husband died at Midway. Her son was somewhere in Japan if he was alive. She had nothing left to lose. This made her dangerous in a quiet way. One evening, Sergeant Brennan entered the medical barracks. Drunk, he stood in the doorway, swaying. "You killed my brother," he said. Keiko was cleaning instruments. She set down the cloth, stood. "I did not," she said in Japanese. The translator was not present. Brennan stepped closer. "Your people. You killed him." Keiko looked at him, did not step back. "Your people killed my husband," she said in Japanese. "My son, maybe. I do not know." He couldn't understand her words, but he understood the tone. They stood facing each other. "We are both here," Keiko said quietly. "Both alive, both empty." Brennan's face twisted. For a moment, violence hung in the air. Then James appeared in the doorway. "The red-haired boy. Sergeant," he said. "Captain wants you." A lie, probably. Brennan looked at James, at Keiko, then left. James looked at Keiko. "You okay?" She didn't understand the words, but she nodded. The next day, Keiko was summoned to the captain's office. She walked across the camp. Soldiers watched. The translator accompanied her. Inside, the captain sat behind a desk. Papers everywhere, coffee cup, cigarette burning in an ashtray. "Sit," he said. Keiko sat. The captain studied her. "Brennan says you threatened him." "I did not," Keiko said. The translator passed it on. "I believe you," the captain said. "Brennan drinks, talks, causes problems." He leaned forward. "I want to know something," he said. "Why did you surrender?" The translator hesitated before passing this on. Keiko considered the question. "I wanted to die," she said finally. "Seppuku, drown myself." But I looked at the young women with me, 20 years old, 19, 18. They wanted to die because they were told it was honor. I thought, this is not honor. This is waste. The translator spoke. The captain listened, nodded slowly. "You saved them," he said. "I condemned them," Keiko replied. "In the eyes of our country, your country lost," the captain said bluntly. "You made the right choice." Keiko said nothing. The captain stubbed out his cigarette. "You're a prisoner," he said. "But you're not an animal. I will make sure my men understand that." He dismissed her. Walking back, Keiko felt something unfamiliar. Not quite hope, but close. The change was gradual, small permissions. Tiny freedoms. The women were allowed to use a corner of the camp kitchen once a week, to cook their own food if they could find ingredients. The first time, they made rice porridge, thin and plain. No miso, no pickles, but rice. They ate in silence. Some women cried. James, the red-haired soldier, started bringing things. Small things. A bag of dried seaweed from somewhere. Ginger root. Once, impossibly, dried fish. "Where do you get this?" the translator asked him once. James shrugged. "Friends, trade." Keiko didn't ask more questions. The female guard, whose name was Dorothy, began teaching some of the women basic English. Survival words: yes, no, please, thank you, bathroom, help. Hana was the quickest learner. Within a month, she could hold simple conversations. "Why are you helping us?" Hana asked Dorothy one day. Dorothy thought about it. "Because you're here," she said. "Might as well be human about it." One Sunday, the captain authorized a joint meal. American soldiers and Japanese prisoners at the same tables. Not mandatory. Voluntary. Some soldiers refused. Many more stayed away. But about 40 soldiers came. Sat with the women. Keiko found herself across from James and another soldier named Martin. Martin was older. Quiet. He had a scar across his cheek. They ate. The silence was awkward. Then Martin picked up his fork, tried to use it like chopsticks, failed immediately. James laughed, tried to show him, also failed. Keiko reached over, adjusted James's fingers. He tried again, picked up a potato. His face lit up like he'd won a war. Martin tried, dropped everything. The table laughed, Americans and Japanese both. It was a small sound, fragile, but real. After the meal, Keiko walked back to the barracks with the other women. That was strange, Hana said. Yes, Keiko agreed. Do you think they hate us less now? Keiko considered. I think they see us more. That night, lying on her cot, Keiko thought about the meal, the laughter, the shared frustration over chopsticks. It was not forgiveness, not friendship, but it was not hatred either. Perhaps that was enough. Martin couldn't sleep. He never slept well. Not since Okinawa. He'd been a sergeant, led a squad. Good men. They died. He lived. Simple math. Wrong outcome. Tonight was worse than usual. He sat outside his barracks, smoked, watched the moon, thought about the Japanese woman at dinner, the older one, Keiko. Her hands were steady when she showed him the chopsticks. His hands hadn't been steady since April. He heard footsteps. Turned. The female guard, Dorothy, walked past. Stopped. Can't sleep? She asked. Never do, Martin said. She nodded, sat beside him. They didn't speak for a while. They're easier to hate from far away, Dorothy finally said. Martin looked at her. The prisoners, she clarified. When they're just the enemy, it's simple. But now they're making rice porridge and crying. Harder. Yeah, Martin said. You were in Okinawa, Dorothy said. Not a question. Martin nodded. How many? 6, Martin said. Lost 6. Out of 12. Dorothy was quiet. I keep thinking, Martin said slowly, about this boy. 17 maybe. Japanese soldier. Last week of fighting, he came around a corner. I shot him. Had to. But afterward, I found a letter in his pocket. Couldn't read it, but I knew what it was. He exhaled smoke. His mother wrote him. I'm sure of it. Dorothy said nothing. Those women in there, Martin continued. Somebody's writing them letters they'll never get. He stubbed out the cigarette. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel, he admitted. Maybe nothing, Dorothy said. Maybe that's okay too. The next morning, Martin was assigned to escort a work detail. Keiko's group. Going to the garden. They walked in silence. At the garden, the women began working, pulling weeds, turning soil. Martin watched. His rifle felt heavy. Keiko approached him, held out a canteen. He hesitated, took it, drank. She said something in Japanese. He didn't understand. She mimed. Tea. The canteen held tea. Weak, barely flavored, but tea. Martin handed it back. Thank you. She nodded. They stood there, soldier and prisoner, victor and defeated, both tired. 6 months into their imprisonment, a reporter came. Local paper, Denver Post. Woman named Elizabeth Grant. The captain didn't want her there, but orders from higher up, show the camps, prove humane treatment. Elizabeth walked through, notepad in hand, camera around her neck. She saw the barracks, the work details, the mess hall. She saw the women eating with chopsticks. She took notes. That evening, she requested an interview with Keiko. The captain allowed it. With a translator present, they sat in a small office. Elizabeth across from Keiko. Why chopsticks? Elizabeth asked. It's what everyone talks about. Keiko smiled slightly. It is all we have that is ours. Do you regret surrendering? Every day, Keiko said. And never, Elizabeth wrote. That's cryptic. Truth often is, Keiko replied. What do you want Americans to know? Keiko thought carefully. That we are here, she said finally. That we exist. That we bleed when cut and cry when sad. Just like you. The article ran 2 weeks later. Keiko never saw it, but she heard about it. The headline, Enemy or Human? Japanese women POWs challenge our definitions. The camp received letters, lots of them, half angry, half supportive. The captain called Keiko to his office again. "You've made me famous," he said dryly. "And not in a good way." "I apologize," Keiko said. "Don't," the captain said. "You told the truth. That's not something to apologize for." He showed her one letter. From a woman in California. "My son died at Iwo Jima," it read. "I thought I would hate all Japanese forever. But I read about those women, about their chopsticks, and I thought, my son is dead, but hating won't bring him back. Maybe it's time to stop." Keiko read it twice. "She's braver than I am," Keiko said quietly. That weekend, the captain authorized something unprecedented. A celebration, small, quiet. American food and Japanese food on the same tables. Forks and chopsticks side by side. Soldiers and prisoners together. Not integrated, not friends, but present. Sergeant Brennan attended. Sat at a corner table, alone. He watched the women, watched the soldiers who laughed with them. His face was unreadable. Near the end of the evening, he stood, walked to where Keiko sat. Everyone watched. He looked at her, said nothing, then picked up a pair of chopsticks from the table, held them awkwardly, tried to pick up a piece of bread, failed, tried again, failed again. Keiko reached over, adjusted his grip. He tried once more, succeeded. He set the chopsticks down, looked at Keiko. "My brother's name was Thomas," he said. The translator started to speak, but Keiko raised her hand. She understood enough. "My husband's name was Hiroshi," she said in English, slowly, carefully. Brennan nodded, then walked away. It was not forgiveness, but it was something. August 1946. The war had been over for a year. The world was rebuilding. Repatriation orders came. The women would return to Japan. Transport ship scheduled for October. The camp became strange. Everyone knew the end was coming. Work continued. Meals continued. But everything felt temporary. Hana cried often now. "I don't want to go back," she admitted to Keiko. "There's nothing there." "There is Japan," Keiko said. "Japan doesn't want us," Hana replied. "We surrendered. We lived. That's unforgivable." Keiko had no answer. Because Hana was right. James brought gifts. Small things. A photograph of the camp. A carved, wooden bird. A bundle of letters he'd written but never sent. "I don't know if you can read them," he said through Hana's translation. "But I wanted you to have them anyway." Keiko took them. Bowed. James bowed back. Clumsily, but genuinely. Dorothy gave each woman a small package. Soap, toothbrush, comb. "For the ship," she said simply. Martin appeared at the medical barracks one last time. He set down a box. Inside, tea. Real tea. Expensive. "For when you get home," he said. Keiko opened her mouth to protest. He was already gone. The night before departure, the camp held a final meal. Larger than before. More soldiers attended. More women. The tables were crowded, loud, almost festive. But underneath, grief. They ate. Americans with forks, Japanese with chopsticks, some with both. When the meal ended, Keiko stood. She spoke in Japanese. Hana translated. "We came here as enemies," Keiko said. "We are leaving as something else. I do not know what word to use. Not friends, not allies, but not enemies either." She paused. "You showed us that even in war, humanity can survive. We will remember that. We will carry that home." The room was silent. Then the captain stood. "You were prisoners," he said. "You were treated as prisoners, but you were never less than human. I hope you remember that too." No applause, no cheers, just silence. And in that silence, understanding. The ship left San Francisco in October 1946. 43 women, different than the 43 who arrived. Older, quieter, changed. Keiko stood at the rail, watched America disappear. Hana joined her. Do you think we'll ever see them again? Hana asked. No, Keiko said. That's sad. Yes, Keiko agreed. But also right. Some chapters close. The journey took 3 weeks. Japan was ruins, cities flattened, people hungry, occupation everywhere. They arrived in Yokohama, Keiko's home city, or what was left of it. She walked through streets she didn't recognize, found her house, bombed, gone. Her son no one knew. Records were destroyed. People were missing everywhere. She searched for 6 months, found nothing, but she kept the chopsticks, and the tea, and the letters from James she couldn't read. Years passed. 1,950. Keiko opened a small school for orphans, children with nowhere to go. She taught them reading, writing, history, and how to hold chopsticks properly. One day, a letter arrived from America. She opened it carefully. Inside, a photograph. James, older, standing with a woman, 2 children, and a note in English. Hana, who lived nearby now, translated. Dear Keiko, I got married, 2 kids, boy and girl. I teach them about the war, about the camp, about you. I want them to know that enemies can become something else. That respect costs nothing. That humanity is always possible. I hope you are well. I hope you found your son, James. Keiko folded the letter carefully. She had not found her son. Probably never would. But she had found something else. Proof that humans could still see each other, even through hatred, even through war. That evening, she made tea. The expensive tea Martin had given her. She had saved it for years, waiting for the right moment. This was it. She poured a cup, held it in both hands. Outside, children played. Orphans becoming students, students becoming people. She thought about the camp, the chopsticks, the meals, the silence that became respect, the hatred that became exhaustion, the exhaustion that became, finally, reluctant recognition. Not peace. Not quite. But something near it. She drank the tea. It was bitter and perfect. 1,965. Hana wrote a book, Memoir of the Camp. It sold poorly in Japan. Too uncomfortable, too complicated. But in America, it found readers. James read it, wrote to Hana. They began corresponding. He visited Japan in 1967, met Hana in Tokyo. They sat in a restaurant, shared a meal. Both used chopsticks now. Do you regret it? James asked. The camp. All of it, Hana thought. I regret the war. But the camp, no. It taught me something. What? That kindness is possible. Even in cages. James nodded. I think about it a lot. About all of you. About what we could have done. What we should have done. You did enough, Hana said. Did we? You saw us, Hana said simply. That was enough. 1,982. Keiko died, 74 years old. At her funeral, they found a small wooden box in her room. Inside, the chopsticks she'd carved in 1945, the letters from James, yellowed and fragile, and a photograph. The final meal at the camp, Americans and Japanese. Forks and chopsticks. Her students buried the box with her. She never forgot, one said. Neither should we, said another. Present day, a museum in Colorado. On the site of the old POW camp, in a glass case, a pair of bamboo chopsticks. The placard reads, carved by Keiko Yamada, Japanese POW, 1,945. These chopsticks were used during meals at Camp Carson, Colorado. They represent a small act of dignity that changed how enemies saw each other. War does not erase humanity, but humans must choose not to erase each other. Visitors pause at the case, read the placard, look at the simple bamboo sticks. Some understand immediately, others need time. But they all see the same thing, proof that even in the darkest moments, a person can hold on to who they are. And that sometimes, not often, but sometimes the other side sees it and respects it, not because they must, but because they still can. The chopsticks sit in the case, silent, waiting, bearing witness to a truth that never changes. Humanity does not end when war begins, unless we let it.